Gang.
Well, President Obama acknowledging what he calls, quote, legitimate philosophical differences over a stimulus plan. For more, we are joined by Republican Congressman Jeff Flake of Arizona. He came out of that meeting with the president that Peter was speaking of earlier. So give us a nutshell, Congressman. Good to see you again, by the way. What is the key fundamental difference between you guys and the president?
Well, I think we'd like to actually see something that would stimulate the economy a little more than what's been presented. We told the president that we've had very little, if any, influence on the bill as it's gone through the House and the Senate. We simply haven't been involved in the negotiations at all.
Well, now you're getting involved because he's coming to meet you specifically. He's now meeting with the Senate members. So let's look at that for what it is at the moment. You personally have filed some amendments to the stimulus bill that would preclude any spending on things that you would deem pork and things like casinos. I think you had in there no dog parks, no money for skate parks. I think that would be applauded by a lot of Americans worried about their tax dollars. But you say, very summarily, we'd like to see anything in there that stimulates the economy. I'm not sure that's really a fair assessment. A third of it is going to be tax cuts. What else is it that you would like to see in there?
Well, the type of tax cuts that are there aren't necessarily as stimulative as the type of tax cuts we'd like to see. We'd like to see a cut in the corporate rate, increased depreciation, cut in capital gains, some things that would quickly add capital, and we simply don't see much of that there. And then the spending side of it, it's just loaded up pretty big on basically just a kind of a grab bag for whatever the other party has wanted in Congress for a long time. That really doesn't stimulate the economy and simply adds to programs that will continue in perpetuity, and that will have an impact on the deficit and certainly the debt later.
Congressman, you're in the minority. Obviously, the Democrats control not only the White House, but both houses of Congress. So what do you do? If there's something you don't like about the bill, what can you do to stop it?
Well, we can file amendments. I think Republicans filed probably more than 100 amendments last night. They've yet to decide which ones will be offered on the floor. I've offered nearly a dozen myself, but my guess is that very few, if any, Republican amendments will be allowed. So this has been a process where it's been difficult to have an impact on. So all we can do is really go out in the press and say, do you really want to saddle future generations with this kind of spending when it's really not going to stimulate much other than maybe in the case of $50 million for the National Endowment for the Arts, a little more creativity.
Yeah,
certainly not much economic benefit.
There was also, I believe, about $4 billion for the neighborhood stabilization plan, which already got $4 billion last year. We know that there are things in there that are not very palatable, but Congressman, what do you say to, say, for example, Mark Zandi, who is a Republican economist? He was an informal economic advisor to John McCain, who said that it's actually tax cuts that put back the worst return for stimulation as it pertains to the economy, that for every dollar given in tax cuts, only 30 cents gets back because businesses aren't guaranteed that they would spend it, yet big infrastructure projects, sort of shovel-ready projects, like building bridges and fixing highways, might then stimulate much more, putting back about $1.56 into the economy.
Well, if you believe that standard that he's put forward, then you'd have to question why the infrastructure programs really aren't funded until, or won't be implemented until a year or two or three from now, or four. So very little of the infrastructure spending will actually occur now. And in terms of tax cuts, obviously some tax cuts have a quicker effect than others. If you cut capital gains, for example, that moves money around a lot faster than other types of tax cuts. And
infrastructure spending in private businesses going way down because people are hunkering down for the recession. Right. The amount of money that lobbyists in Washington have spent has never been higher. So it's topping $3 billion. It has become lobbyist fever inside the Beltway. What does that indicate to you?
Well, it indicates that this is the biggest shift of wealth from those who are less powerful to those who are more powerful that we've ever seen in Washington. Certainly, if you're well connected, even though this bill is free of congressional earmarks, there's a whole lot of pork in it that will be determined at the state and local level. And also by members of Congress who simply pick up the phone and dial the federal agencies and say, we want this money spent in this district or that. So, yeah, you're right, and that's a troubling trend.
Representative Jeff Flake of Arizona. And you, as an Arizona guy, don't want to go outside. It's snowing right now. Peter Barnes was just throwing snowballs.
I've got to walk across to vote right now, and I've got to go through it. So.
Well, enjoy it. Good to see you,
Thanks.
Congressman. Thanks very much.